Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome to another impromptu installment of the Quick View series. This could go short, this could go long. I have no idea. What I do know is that this will be slightly more atypically unbiased than what you would ordinarily see. So we're going to go straight to it. Look, it's a Bushido. Look, it's a little bit worn. The tires are dirty. I didn't go out and buy a Bushido. This is the neighbor's Bushido. He saw me doing this, and then a buddy of his has got one of those, the HPI that's got the FJ on it. They're like go fast guys, like 8th scale buggy truggy guys. And he was just messing around with it, and they drove it and they got hooked. And by they, I mean, like, if you've seen any of the shorts and content where vehicles that are not among the Crawler Canyon fleet are appearing back there, there's this guy, there's a guy with a base camp, there's an SE, there's a green-bodied Ecto. All of those are new visitors, friends of the Canyon, and this is among them, the Bushido, which underneath, this is Element. This is basic stuff. Stealth X, shorty pack holder in the front. It's running on 3S. It's got the RTR shocks. It does have some notable stuff, which is like, it's got an 11.8-inch wheelbase to fit the Bushido body over here, which is not white. I don't know how well. It's creamy. It's sort of a creamy off-white type of color. Definitely done in not what paint, like, you know, they flashing on there. The body seems nice. It's got details. It's got the mirrors. They've gone to the new folding mirrors now, if that's important to you, not snapping your mirrors off. It's got the full front grille. It's got mounts for LEDs, including the mount, just no LEDs. And the inside of the taillights are not painted, should you decide to adhere a bucket in there of some sort. We've got the holes, so you could attach fenders. I would like to point out that it has an 11.8-inch wheelbase, which is right around 300 millimeters. But it has that wheelbase there. You can see the wheelbase get shorter through the swing. It actually gets 13 millimeters shorter at full droop compared to just standing at ride height. I'm not super excited about the pinion angle of that rear. That's crazy. The top link needs to be longer. Bump steer is varies anywhere from non-existent to really good, so that's nice. Oh, one thing to point out, this is all stock. This is completely stock. Nothing has been touched. Nothing has been changed, save for one thing. He has already been subject to my poisonings. It is on an RC4GS because it came with the associated Reedy XP130, which is a perfectly acceptable RTR radio, and it's featured on most RTR elements, not including the SE, which has that hideous FlySky G4P. But the first couple days, I spent a good time trying to make this camera presentable, cleaning it. The whole thing was about that level of dirty. And he drove it in the rain, like not sprinkles, but in the rain several times. And open electronic pots, there's all the little pot knobs on top of the XP130. Apparently enough water got in there to make the whole thing go bonkers, and the radio basically died. It would, this thing would like surge forward, and then the wheels would just go, and then it would just sit there and go, and then sometimes it would shoot in reverse, and we kind of diagnosed that down to being the radio. So he replaced it with an RC4GS, and everything works fine. So I don't think there's a whole ton of stuff to cover externally, as it's an Element. It just has a shorter wheelbase. You see all the extra holes. It can do 12 point. I don't think this rail will go back to 12.8, but you can do a 12.3 where you're going to change the body. But I think if anyone is buying this, they're buying this for one reason. Because it's this. You're buying it for the Samurai, which the body posts are... Oh, I just put the body on, and there was something I needed to point out. which is we've got nothing back here. We've got the brace for the shock towers. We've got the rear bumper mount. These holes right here line up with, this is the brace that comes from an SE, because the SE runs the battery in the back. It's a brace like that. And then there are these 4 holes here. You can put this identical brace to what holds the battery tray on back there. And I might recommend people do that because the frame flex is pretty outstanding. Now, a certain amount of frame flex is fine. If something is too rigid, this is going to compromise lots of stuff. But that's a lot of flex. Also, of note, while the body's still off, it's the same shock, it's the same springs on the shocks front and rear, gray band, which is odd because we can segue into that by, it went on the scales, it got corner balanced, ran through all the numbers, did the CG calculator. The rig weighs 5.71 pounds RTR, which is neither heavy nor light. I think if you're between 5 and 6 pounds, that's pretty much par for the course. And like I say, nothing has been changed, nothing has been adjusted. It's still on the hideous Reedy, which looks like the 540, 16 turn, 5 slot, one of my least favorite motors in the world, and the SC480X, which is frankly terrible, but what are you going to do? Like I said, this is a little atypical of the reviews here, as this isn't mine. And if this were mine, within a matter of minutes, all the RTR electronics would be gone. The 1523 makes about 300 ounces, which is almost passable in a servo on axle configuration, but it's not up to CMS duty. It just really isn't. It drives okay, but you can watch rocks push the tires out of the way, and I'm sure you'll see that coming up. The 480 is more of an on-off switch than it is a speed control. It is a speed control in the same way that the pull chain on a ceiling fan is a speed control. It allows you to change speeds. It has low, medium, and high. But we want something that will allow us to go an infinite number of steps, of progressions in between not moving at all and moving as fast as we can go. And in every permutation of it that I've tried, that's not what the 480X is. It has kind of low, medium, and high. There's a little bit of fidelity in the middle, but it is not particularly a good feeling speed control. 5.71 pound vehicle, surprisingly 57% front weight, 43% rear weight, which is that's a pretty substantial split for an RTR vehicle. We weigh it nose up and nose down to find CGH. And if you will look, there's 2 little bands there on the tire. That top band right there, that's the CGH. That's fine. We've seen rigs come out above, so that's not bad. Now, you can get the battery a little lower, and he's running a big EcoPower 4200, which in a rig like this would, 3S as well, in a rig like this would probably get you, I don't know, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So weight could be brought down, CG could be brought down. There's a lot of stuff that just little adjustments could be made, but that's me thinking into a future that I think I think I know what that future holds. These are general grabbers. I think in terms of RTR tires, for the purposes of argument, we have to include the pin seeker. Element makes them. So it surprises me that the Bushido was announced so close to the time of the SE that the Bushido is still coming on grabbers. And the newly announced but not yet released Trailwalker Black also comes on grabbers. Grabbers are, in my experience, woefully unimpressive. They are, by definition, everything representative of an RTR tire. And I realized today, while I was trying to brush the mud off these, I think I realized why I don't like them. There is one general grabber, and this is what I can't stand. This tread leg right here points towards the back, and this tread leg here points to the front. So they're technically asymmetrical. but you can't reverse them. Like I've tried. If you take that, so this one, the inner lug points in, but on this tire, the inner lug points out and the outer lug points in. But if you flip the tire around, you've just mirrored it and it's still pointing back, pointing forward. If you switch that tire to that side, it's just the opposite way around. They just reversed. Does this insanity make sense to anyone? It's a directional, non-directional tire. So it doesn't have a forward and a backward because half of the lugs are pointing forward and half of the lugs are pointing backward. But something about my sensibilities, I don't like that on this side the inner one points in, and on that side the outer one points in. I feel like that will impact some small amount of traction, just the tiniest bit. So in wheel testing, what I'm going to do is, where are they? I'm going to bring a set of tires along with me because, in honesty, the amount of stuff that one needs to actually do to an Element to get it proper. Oh, yeah, I can't even plug that in advance because the 480 does not have a power switch. So once it's on, it's on. We'll just power everything up then. Like, all right. Does anyone see what I'm saying? Where can we get it? Okay. I need there we go. Contrast. But the thing is, with the power that this combo makes, that amount of, yeah, right there. Do you see what I'm saying? It's non-existent power. So there is no low end. The amount of wheel speed, you have to get to about there. Nope, I can stall that too. There is no power in this package. That's not a hack on Element. Why? It's the RTR gear that we get in every RTR they offer. If anyone is to take blame for this, I think the punch has to be thrown 1-2. We have to put a little bit of blame on the giant dragon that is Traxxas for making RTRs so popular that it effectively exploded the hobby, right? Like the RTR movement has been, if not driven by, then nearly perfected by Traxxas. It kind of gave us that statement of RTR doesn't mean ready to run, it means ready to replace. But it is, from an economic standpoint, is it not genius to offer a product that you can charge about $80 more for the inclusion of $20 worth of electronics? It just makes sense. I mean, it makes financial sense to them, not to us. So let's take it out. Let's wheel it exactly as it is. And as this isn't mine, there's not really anything I can do to it. I can put these tires on it temporarily to see how that will do compared to the grabbers because, I mean, maybe they'll feel better than my somewhat distant memories of the grabbers, but they've never really blown me away. I would say that in terms of RTR inclusion, the trail grappler that you get from Axial is, so we've got the OEs here. We've got the OEs from the big three: Traxxas, Element, Axial. I think Axial does it better. Traxxas does it way better once they've gotten some work into them. On the plastic rim, with the whatever foam they come with, the Element foams feel okay. They feel appreciably soft. Rig's not super heavy. But I think Traxxas still does it better. And I'm genuinely surprised that this didn't come with pin seekers on it. I would have liked to have seen pin seekers on it. I think they would actually look pretty good, especially on the black pin seeker wheels and not these silver guys. But that's neither here nor there. This is a quote unquote quick view. So how does a Bushido RTR do effectively out of the box? The radio has been changed, but that was due to necessity. And as I've said, and will say again, I'm sure in the future, the XP130 is not terrible. It's got a range of adjustments. It's not a bad radio because they stuck to analog. They didn't try to do anything too fancy. It's an okay radio. It's not as good as this one, but, you know, it's RTR stuff. We got to deal with that. Enough, right? Without further ado, wheeling. This session of Quickview Wheeling brought to you with extra jackhammer noises. The neighbor is clearing out a concrete washout container. Okay, before we mount Slick Rock, like why? That's clearly 100% reverse. And the transition from, it's insane. The steering actually doesn't feel as bad as I thought it would. I thought it'd be a lot slower, but it all comes down to the SC480. It really, like right there. We'll start right here. Okay, that's minimum speed. Okay, show me what you got, grabbers. Prove me wrong. Usually you want to get that tire in the top up and over. Now this is the self-fulfilling prophecy. Like we can a little more wheel speed, a little more wheel speed. It's a little underdamped. Like they've probably. It's got too much. There's too much everything. The punch out of the package is borderline unmanageable. But I am trying, there we are. I'm trying my very best to ignore the SC480 factor. I've made my opinions of the 480 well known. This is a good section. We try to get a tire high, see if it's going to flip over. No, we're good. We're good through there. See how the short wheelbase does here? A lot of people get belly hung right here. No problem. That's a fun sound. It's a fun sound. Yeah, that transition to reverse is mad abrupt. And then on top of that, we have the drag brake associated with the 480 slash 5-slot combo. Come on, give me something. There we are. So if anything, what we're trying to look at here is the SWB. We're looking at the short wheelbase. 11.8 is pretty short. It's not obscenely short. How about a little descent here? Yeah, that's nose down drag brake. Eee. Stable though. Stable all the way through that. Turning circle is pretty good. Well, I mean, we've got, well, that, and I have an almost complete inability to modulate speed. I have a definitive temptation here, which is to modify, come on, grabber, show me. Come on, grabber. I get what I expect. I have a definite temptation here to modify things that aren't mine and just take it in the shop, pull that motor out, which I know I hate, and put in anything else. I guarantee you the $14 Endura 35 turn is better than this. I guarantee it. But I've driven it for like 3.5 minutes, so now you know how things work around here and why a test will probably be more honest and more balanced by the truck not being mine. Because honestly, if this were mine and I had gone through the whole indoor spiel and then brought it out here, it wouldn't even have made it out here with that Reedy motor in it. That Reedy motor would have come out of the rig before a battery was ever plugged in. Uh-oh. So it's a little tippy. It's a little tippy. Like I said, as I believe I alluded to at least, any CG with a 4 in the first digit is not super remarkable. So we work with what we've got. It actually descends quite a bit better than what I thought it would with that front rear weight split. But with the grabbers on plastics, good clearance on the bumpers too. I like the Bushido bumpers. Let's see, grabber. Okay, definitely better than I thought. The grabber's not doing bad on here. Do I think it could benefit from some Amazon alloys? Well, yeah. Yeah, CG's. Oh. All right. So I'm right here, and I'm trying to slow roll in. There it is. But if you just it is abrupt to tip into that speed control. And hey, I'm learning. You can get back up on the wheels. It takes a micro burst of throttle, and modulating the throttle even on an aftermarket radio. Come on. So light. So topside light. You can see it slipping. Hold on, I need to go to the next display. I can get to, so on the channels on there, I can get to like 10, 12 on channel 2 on throttle, and there's just nothing. And then all of a sudden there's something. Yeah, it's very on-off switch. And in the amount of testing I've done previously, that's not one individual thing. That's a combination of things. That's the SC480 and that Reedy. Some people can manage it, but I don't seem to be one of those people. I'm trying to see. Oh, that's in top. Okay. So what I did is what all the RTRs out there can't do, the RC4, and why I love the RC4 is we've got throttle curve. And this is pretty much a typical throttle curve, the 5, 17, 30, the upper two numbers don't matter as much. But drop it, the front default, the default low position on the throttle is 17. So I just moved that down to 5, basically like putting a towing gear in. And now, it's not great. Yeah, it feels a little dead. I generally don't try, I try to employ as little electronic trickery as possible to make something like this work. And in the past, I've determined that no amount of electronic trickery will make an SC480 not be an SC480. It's something that is so lackluster in terms of its performance that it really does cloud the view of everything else involved. Like, I'm trying to focus on how does the short wheelbase affect the suspension? How does the fact that it's got the front spring rate and the rear spring rate are exactly the same, and we have to assume that it's got something really low, like 300 CST in there, which is like 27 weight or something. So it's got very lightweight oil. So in my opinion, it's underdamped even with the light springs. But from the little bit of driving, and particularly how it whips back onto its wheels, it feels oversprung in the rear, undersprung in the front, and underdamped throughout. So I have to look at the economy of this, not like the grand state of the global economy. The economy of the Bushido. I have to look at it through, yeah, that's that short wheelbase right there. That breakover is good. I have to look at it through a couple different lenses. So, as I said, if you're buying one of these, you're buying it for a pretty specific reason. You want that body that you're looking at right there. Everything else is either bog standard Element or something that needs to be replaced because it's RTR. I think this vehicle would be radically improved by changing the motor and the speed control, and not just one or the other. I think putting a motor in here will make it a little bit better, but putting a different speed control in it will make it a lot of bit better, which is what it's a shame. We blame Traxxas for presenting the idea that everything should be sold as an RTR, and then we have to blame ourselves for going out and buying those RTRs and proving to the companies that that business model is both viable and successful. So even with the 57 front weight, the traction profile of the grabber, I can't, you know, I'm not sure I can provide you with an accurate commentary on the traction profile of the grabber, because the speed control also, I will issue this complaint right there. Look at the door panel. Let's take a look at the door panel right there. I understand everything at some level, it's always about the money. There's a cost-saving measure at every turn. The fact that that body is not backed on the inside with silver or white, you know, I get it. They're not alone in not backing their bodies in a solid color. But I don't like, there's a real thing. We're not going for hyper-scale realism here, but I would genuinely like to see the inside of that body black or silver so that I can't see the sunlight shining through the door panel. Because unless your car is in extremely poor condition, you generally will not have sunlight shining through your door panel. Especially when it gets up here, it just gets like illuminated like a light bulb. Yeah, they break over great right there. That's that short wheelbase breaking over. I like the hardware, the bumpers, I like the body. Everything else in there, we like the Stealth X. If the Bushido, though, had a Stealth XF in it, because then what I think is $399.99 to put you in a Bushido, which is the same money as a base camp. That's the same money as a TRX4 Sport. So this is definitely into the realm of sacrifices made in the name of vanity, because we're giving away some, I mean, they are at least beadlocks. They're not glued on. The base camp wheels come glued on. The SEs do not. Traxxas will come glued on. So the inclusion of a beadlock, even if it's lightweight plastic, is welcome. I prefer the black ones to this silver-ish, but that's such a minor personal thing. I don't like that. I don't like that, and I don't like the dove gray plastic either. But the only complaints I have about the Bushido, I'm not complaining about a $399 price tag. I think the grabbers are okay as an OE. They're probably as good as a Canyon Trail out of the package. They're a little something. Something is a little squishy. And unlike the SE, I think the SE with the SE has got effectively an inch more wheelbase if you put it together right. That inch more wheelbase makes it a lot easier to flip up. The short wheelbase makes this thing a little more, like you'll be walking over to turn it over a lot more. It's also quite tall, the body. The CG isn't remarkably high for the height of the body, but it is It is higher. I think the CG on this guy is 10 millimeters higher than that on an SE, but pin seeker's sitting a little low. There's just, it's a strange thing. Are we sacrificing too much to have the short wheelbase body? I can't say so with the electronics. The electronics that come with an SE are inarguably worse, and the 480 is real bad. It's real bad in them both. The motors are bad in both, but the XP130 that would ordinarily be operating this is a far superior radio to the FlySky G4P. That FlySky G4P is absolutely terrible. So with the FlySky G4P not in this mathematical equation, the XP130 having been removed by weather, all we have left to complain about, and I will complain about them vocally and at will, is the SC480 and that Reedy 5 slot, because it doesn't have enough torque. The speed control has no low speed control. The rig itself is, how can I put this best in an analogy, in an offensive analogy? The rig certainly has the potential to be very good without even putting any money into it, really. Like, just some tuning, some oil in the shocks. Maybe we can get away with just some preload in the front. I'll try dialing in a little preload and see if we can put, but that right there, there's nothing I can do about that. That is the SC480 in its essence. So what you have is, this could be a fine meal at a fine restaurant, but then when it's time for the main course, the waiter comes out and pisses on everything. That's the SC480. Like, you can take something perfectly good and make it, and now you're looking at it through a piss-colored lens, and it really doesn't look as good as it is. Because we know the geometry is good. The thing has no bump steer to it at all. The Element shocks, whether they're the silver body, whether they're the plastic gray body from the SE, whether they're the factory team Teflon bodies, they're all good. The spring rates are pretty well chosen for the rigs. It's underdamped. It could use a little more spring in the front. I honestly think this could have come with the blue fronts and gray rears like an Ecto does, like a Gatekeeper does, like all of them do. So to me, it's a little odd that the front springing is so soft and or the rear springing is so high, but it's not a deal breaker. The tuning is something that can be adjusted, and if you're in crawling for any amount of time and you end up having more than one rig, you're gonna end up with a whole drawer full of shock springs. And sometimes changing out one pair of springs can dramatically alter the performance of a vehicle. So while there's nothing I can do about the throttle characteristics of this vehicle, there is something that we can do just for an apple to orange comparison, which is take a tire that is a known quantity and say, put it on a heavyweight wheel, like the ones that are sitting over there in that, you can see that bag right there. That's got those canyon trails in it, the Dead Ringer canyon trails. We're gonna put those on there and see if it doesn't at least soften down the punch to the groin that is the SC480. So this is 100% subjective at this point. This is just me, but try to convince me otherwise. Oh, that's speed control. Try to convince me that that doesn't look 7,000 to 8,000% better. And yes, I know that that's not how percentages work. It doesn't matter. It looks so much better, it actually makes me physically uncomfortable. These are the good old Amazon SSD clone Steelies, and they are better. They're heavy, so they work. Boop. And they're like a spoke wheel, so they look better. I've never understood Element's decision, those wheels that come on here and many others. And, oh, you beautiful bastard, you just did it. So for those unfamiliar, and I think if you've been here before, you should be familiar. What you see directly before you is Daphne's other line. You see the addition of about 65 bucks retail worth of stuff. Canyon Trails, cut, siped. Half of a Tim 10 dual stage foam, a hair bun wrapped around the outside of it, put on some SSD Steelies, which why they're my favorite is they're one of the cheapest wheels you can buy. We've gotten them as low as $23 a set. They're usually $29.99 a set. And it has transformed this because now I can just drive up stuff. Like he doesn't even care anymore. So should you be interested in the Bushido, if the allure of the look of that body gets you, and I get it, I love the look of it as well. The general grabber is at best an okay tire. Like, and in my unofficial list of how things are ranked, okay is just below fair. So good is above fair. That's where it is. The wheels that come with this thing do not match the personality of the body whatsoever. The wheels that are on there now are whatever tire you choose, but look at that wheel on there. It's perfect. It's so pretty now. So there are changes that are going to have to be made. I mean, you can suffer through it. This is the RTR, which spells out to ready to replace. This is the price of RTR. You pay extra money so that you can replace the stuff that they gave you. I'm making air quotes behind the camera. The stuff that they gave you to make it drivable. I'm not even going to try to cycle it out because I can't do it. So the Bushido is nice. I like the look of it. There's a little bit of a challenge added to that short wheelbase. The breakover is great, but the pure like right there, that's part and parcel right there. Low wheelbase is gonna, short wheelbase is gonna get your front end up in the air a lot. So tuning will have a bit more of an effect, and this is, as I said, completely untuned other than dialing a little bit of throttle curve in it, just trying to slow the fan switch nature of the 480 down. So does this mean that what you're buying in the Bushido is a false economy, right? That we have to spend enough to make it what it should be, that we should just buy something else. Because you can get a clear Bushido body for, I think it's around 60 bucks. It's either $59.99 or $69.99. It's one or the other. But then you got to buy the bumpers. And I don't think that price of the body comes with the little bits like the grill and the mirrors and the roll bar. I'm not sure if they're included. So let's say that they aren't. And then you're into crawler body territory where the body is going to cost you about 100 bucks. So if you want to put it in anything else, you're going to have to start piecing together, because links, you aren't going to have links that are right length. If I remember the stat sheet accurately, the Bushido is equal length front and rear, 93 millimeter uppers front and rear, 100 millimeter lowers front and rear. So this is something where if you're me, if you're in my position, I could make this, because I've got 93s and 100s, and if I don't, I can make them. But to the average Joe, honestly, the cheapest, the most cost-effective way out there to get a Bushido is probably to buy a Bushido. Now, the other option being like Builder's Kit 2, shock springs, bumpers, Bushido body. Then you have to buy all the electronics, and you have to buy wheels and tires. So if we're trying to ignore the RTR aspect and just build same for same, yeah, you're gonna have some better parts on a builder's kit outfitted with a Bushido, but I think in the end it's gonna cost really close to the same, really close. So we're not in the realm of false economy here. You're not going to lose a bunch of money. It's $400 to start, and as with anything else, the way I look at it is an RTR rig is going to need, in general, the number keeps going up. It used to be, oh, you're going to need $100 just not to get it outfitted to run, but to get it decent, you know? In the case of most elements, excluding the SE, the radio is fine, and I'm genuinely surprised. I haven't noticed that Reedy 1523 steering servo at all. It's been perfectly fine. Its speed is good enough. I mean, yeah, when you get a tire bound up, you lose a little bit of throw. It feels like you're stuffing in a little. But it's not something that I would classify at all as replace or upgrade immediately. It's fine. In contrast to that, the motor and the speed control should be discarded. The XP130 radio, it's fine. It has the adjustments that you need. It's a pretty good RTR radio. So that's fine. I mean, I would obviously recommend an RC4GS over any RTR radio. The RC4GS is an improvement over any RTR radio in the world that I've seen. I mean, maybe there's something out there that's magic. But you have the full range of adjustments. You've got endpoint adjustments. You have every channel programmable. If you want to add lights, you can put switches to the lights. You can do whatever you need, and the radio is like $60. So not to nickel and dime it, but if we were looking at the $100 price tag, like I did that video, hey SE, do you want $100? Hey Bushido, do you want $100? 1080, $15 to $20 brush motor, and some wheels. Even if you put the grabbers back on the wheels in that 100. So yeah, what are we looking at? If you get an old 1080, you're looking at like $37. If you get a new 1080, a G2, you're looking at like $44. A set of rims is going to cost you about $30, and then that'll leave you over in a budget up to about $25 for a motor. And I would say, good, pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. If you're looking at a $200 budget, then the other $100 is one of these and the tires of your choice. Not Proline, but the tires of your choice, whatever you like. Don't listen to a lunatic. Like I say, these are modded canyon trails on dual stage hair buns. Like right here. Watch it. How high is he gonna get? I wanted more and less at the same time. Yeah, we'll just go around it. Yeah, if it doesn't look like it's gonna hold on, we go around it. His CG feels, I don't know how much the CG would have actually moved from here, but his behavior is vastly improved. I noticed the SC480 just a little bit less because the wheels are now heavier. So it actually took a little bit of its punch out because that Reedy 5 slot is kind of the torqueless wonder of the world. See if I can nozzle, if I can noozle in here. I want to try this straight rock ascent here, right? Yeah, there we go. A little short wheelbase action. Get on there. Oh. He is tough to ride. That's short wheelbase. I think I gotta get used to it over time. But you know what? I won't have the time to get used to it because I'm gonna have to give it back. I'm sure I will be able to talk him into, there we go, yeah. I'm sure I will be able to talk him into leaving it with me on another day so I can address things like caster flip, put some better angle in that rear, get some heavier weight oil in the shocks. I think probably 40 weight would probably be plenty because like I say, it's 300 CST in there. And if memory serves, I'm squinting. I'm looking into the distance and squinting, and that's a well-known method to access memory. I want to say 40 weight oil is 500 CST, and they ship with 300 CST. Well, if you get a builder's kit or a gatekeeper kit, it comes with a bottle of 300 CST. So 300 CST would be 60% of 40, which is what, 24 weight? 24 weight is too soft for these shocks. Now maybe if they were running like a single hole piston, but oh. It's just too punchy. So there you go. If you're gonna go out and spend the $399, because you have to have the beautiful look of the Bushido, and I think it looks super scale. Like, I think the wheels look more to scale to it, so that they don't look like giant, like, you know, you put these tires on some bodies and now it looks like you're in some sort of giant maniacal mud bogger. I think the scaling of the body is really good. When I had first seen it, I thought it was too tall, but I think it's more like an 1/8 scale, which is what these would be. Because if you do what, that's 12-inch wheelbase. It's a 96-inch wheelbase if it were an 1/8 scale. Whereas if you tried to consider this a 12th scale, it would be an 120-inch wheelbase. And that's insane, because then the passenger cab on that vehicle would be 6.5 feet long. Anyway, neither here nor there. But if you're going to drop $399 on a Bushido, you're not getting, Element's not trying to run off with your money. You're not getting robbed. It's not a false economy. You don't have to spend an excessive amount of money to make it good. Pretty much every RTR is going to take at least $100, not including batteries. At least $100 to get it capable, and then another $100 to get it good, to get it real good. And this one is no different. So you can get an 11.8-inch wheelbase vehicle with this body on it. And yeah, when you start analyzing it in big numbers and you start looking at it like $600, sounds like a lot. But then you just need to factor in ideas that, like, if you get an RC 4-wheel drive or a Vanquish Phoenix, by the time you're done, you can easily, if you build a Phoenix economically, you're at like $800. You could easily go 1,000. So $600 for this, like, I would see this as $399, put in the $180 to $200 range, depending on what the Amazon prices of things are on any given day and what set of tires you go with. You could be in under $200. And the beauty of the RTR, and why I still think that there's some strength to be had in RTRs, is that you can take it home and drive it. It won't be great. The speed control is to quote the philosophers of times of yore, poo-poo caca. But it's all remediable. There's nothing in here that's inherently bad. The suspension geometry is great. The shocks are good. They need heavier oil. The tires are not great. They need heavier wheels, and the grabbers are fair at best. They're a trailing tire. But there's nothing here that cannot be fixed by throwing money at it. And there are indeed crawlers out there that have issues that I consider uncorrectable, no matter how much money you throw at them. So there you have it. This quick review was a quickness of unknown length. It was atypical in that this is a vehicle that was lent to me for testing. And I think it got a little more philosophical, because in the last couple weeks, I've had the opportunity to drive and test a range of vehicles, whether I've built them, bought them, converted them out of their RTR state, what have you. So I'm comparing these to a mental database of things, and I think the Bushido is a reasonably good deal. I mean, if you get an SE, you've got to spend $100 to get the SE into a similar configuration as this, and then put the subsequent other hundreds on top of it. I still, a little minor segue here in closing, I don't consider the SE a false economy either. There's a lot of stuff that I've replaced sort of unnecessarily, just because I like some things and I don't like other things. Have I talked enough about how I don't like the SC480? I hope I have. But the SC480 is the real Achilles heel of this thing. It works, and that's the harshest praise you can give it. Like, it works. It's not good, but it is functional. The short wheelbase is both fun and terrifying, because when this thing gives way, you almost don't know. But I'm not used to it. I've been driving an SE with an inch more wheelbase to it around for a while. So I give it a conditional thumbs up. It's a capable vehicle. It's much more capable on better wheels and tires, and would be even better with a reasonable power plant in it. Just like every other RTR you can buy. So thanks for watching, everybody. Another quick view in the books. Please do comment below any questions, comments, or concerns. Anything you have to say about the Bushido, questions about the Bushido. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. We do offer channel memberships for, I don't know. Like, I went to the dollar store and bought hair buns. I used YouTube money for that. Woo! So please do enjoy yourselves in the meantime, betwixt now and when we meet again. And do tune in for the next one, whatever that might be. And also, as we do recommend, to friends and future friends alike, that in all times, among all things, please do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time.